Carolina Hurricane have won 4 straight games, and Jared Ellis of Locked On Canes is joining us to talk about that and how they're getting it done. All that and more coming up on the Locked On NHL podcast.
You're Locked On NHL, your daily podcast on the National Hockey League. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome to the Monday edition of the Locked On NHL podcast. Gil Martin, so glad you could join us today, and thank you for making Locked On NHL your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms. It is my pleasure to welcome back to the show the host of Locked On Carolina Hurricanes, Jared Ellis. And Jared, 4 straight wins for the Canes, 3 of them on this West Coast road swing. What is this team doing so well that now has catapulted them to second place in the Metropolitan Division?
Yeah, so I think, with a lot of that was, they're coming off that 5-game losing streak where they just couldn't get anything going. And I think, them getting back on track, it was a combination of several things. The offense starting to heat back up because that was a very difficult issue there. They were getting tons of high danger chances and nothing was happening. Same with the power play. Is at one point 30th out of 32 teams in the NHL. It was not going well for them, and things have just started clicking again in every aspect. And I also think they've built some confidence as well, getting these wins. I think that was big. I think they had gotten in their own heads a little bit, but they've started to get back to their winning ways. They got some confidence under them, and let's see how far this can take them.
Talk to me a little bit about injuries. This team has had to overcome a lot of them. How have the injuries affected them, and how have they been able to get back on track and overcome some of these injuries to key players?
Yeah, with the injuries, it's been rough for sure. Teuvo Teravainen, he was able to come back last night against the Los Angeles Kings, which was great. Definitely missing his playmaking ability, but dealing with all the injuries, it's definitely just a next man up mentality. Frederik Andersen going down again, Pyoter Kochetkov just stepping up and being ready to go. Andrei Svechnikov, he's been out since the beginning of the year. We haven't even seen Max Pacioretty yet. So it's just a next man up mentality and guys getting out there and doing their job and holding each other accountable.
What impact has the addition of Brent Burns had to this team?
Yeah, so he finally seems like he's starting to click a bit more in the system. I've said, before that, after spending over a decade in one system, it's going to take a little bit of time to get acclimated to the new way of doing things. And he's definitely endeared himself to fans already with his play. But he, aside from a few defensive lapses here and there that we've seen, he's really brought some physicality and some grit to the defense. He seems to be starting to get his footing under him when in terms of his offensive production, slotting against or beside Jacob Slavin. And I'm really liking what he's bringing to the team. It seems where it's starting to click for him, and I'm really excited to see how the season progresses for him.
Give me the name of a player who maybe isn't making a lot of headlines nationally, but has been a big help to this Carolina Hurricanes team and their recent success.
I really think one that comes to mind initially is that of Brett Pesce. He just played in his 500th game. He scored 2 game-winning goals in these past couple games. Pyoter Kochetkov is another guy where it seems to be flying under the radar. He's been stellar with his goaltending as well. But those are definitely the 2 guys that come to mind the most. And then, honestly, now that I'm talking about it again, Jordan Martinook, he's really having a great bounce back season after really struggling the past couple.
What do you think has been different about Martin right now this year? And you mentioned the comeback. He's a +7. He's got 7 goals. What's different about him this year?
Yeah, I think it's a few things. I think that uh, he's finally healthy now, which is really important. And because he'd been dealing with several injuries, over the past couple years. And then I think one thing that kind of lit a fire under him this offseason was him getting placed on waivers at the beginning of the season, getting sent down to the AHL and called right back up. But I think all of that combined has really just lit a fire under him, and he's firing on all cylinders. He got his first hat trick since November 2018 the other night against St. Louis. Just everything is going right for him. And if he can continue to stay healthy, which is big for him, especially coming off these past couple years, I think he could seriously have the best year of his career.
Talk to me about Svechnikov. He has been outstanding all season long and really has been the best offensive player perhaps on this team. What makes him so effective?
I think with him, it's a combination of a few things. I think that he's obviously got more experience in the NHL right now, and so he has that to work off of. And I said whenever he signed that big extension the other year, that I wanted to see him, start to take the correct steps in terms of his career progressing. And he put in the work this offseason. He did it last offseason as well, but he's just put in the work and everything is clicking for him. I know at times over the past couple of years, he can get a bit predictable at times of what you're expecting him to do, and that hasn't been the case this year. And he's just taken his game to the next level, and he is seriously just put in the hard work to continue to just get better. He has a tremendous coaching staff around him, tremendous teammates, and everything is just falling into place with him this season. It's the universe and the stars have aligned for him this year.
Give me one thing this team needs to do better to continue to have success and compete in a very tough Metropolitan Division.
Special teams, easy. Their power play, aside, from these past couple games where it has improved, just as a whole this year, it has been bad. It has been really bad, and there's penalty kill also hasn't been up to the same level that it had been the past couple years. Last year being especially good, and they have got to improve their special teams to be able to win this division and win games in the playoffs. You're not going to be able to win, with the 30th ranked power play in the NHL. You can win a couple games here and there, but you're not going to go super far whenever the going gets tough.
No question about that. What do they need to do on the power play to get it to continue to click?
I think they need to continue to generate high danger chances. I think that is going to be really, really big, and play with a bit more urgency. I feel that sometimes they pass the puck around too much and they don't take shots when they should. And sometimes I've said it in the past, over these past couple years, because they're always a team that generates a bunch of shots, whether it's on power play, uh, kill, 5-on-5, whatever it may be. They always generate a bunch of shots, and sometimes it feels that they're just shooting to shoot, not shooting to score. And they've been shooting to score. They've been choosing their shots wisely for the most part. And I think that is going to be really important for them to do.
Jared, why don't you tell our viewers and our listeners where they could find the podcast and where they could find you on social media?
Yeah, of course. You can find the podcast wherever you're getting this podcast, whether it's on Spotify, Odyssey, Apple Podcasts. It is wherever you can find your podcast, and as well as on YouTube at Locked On Hurricanes. And you can follow the show on social media at LO_Hurricanes. That's Twitter and Instagram, and myself on Twitter at Jared Ellis _96.
All right, Jared, always a pleasure. Thanks so much for joining us.
Always.
Today's episode is brought to you by your friends at BetOnline. BetOnline.net is your number one source for sports betting info, stats, news, and analysis. Get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there, from football to basketball to World Cup soccer, the NHL, and esports. We've got it all at BetOnline.net. And if you love sports podcasts, you could find those at BetOnline as well. We're always the fastest and easiest way to get your betting fix. And hey, maybe you want to turn your knowledge of the NHL into a chance to win some money. You can head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more. Bet Online, where the game starts.